I saw a coffee mug, and I thought I had to take a picture of this. It said, I love my job at 5 p.m. on Friday. You got to love your job, man, but not just, we have, thank God it's Friday, and it's so rough, Avril, that we also have hump day. Wednesday, we are right up in the middle, it's downhill from there. And then God help us, it's Monday blues, Blue Monday. With that as an introduction, let's talk about the misconceptions, some of the misconceptions with which we labor. Number one, when things go bad, let HR fix it, or fix them. HR did not create this problem, but HR somehow gets the responsibility to fix this problem. Good gracious. It is such an easy thing to say, we got some disturbance over there and some people are stirring up some unit stuff, send HR, when in fact, the primary source of the issue is not HR. There are surveys, of course, done everywhere, every day. Here's one question that says, to what extent are the following groups responsible for employee engagement in your organization across thousands of people and all kinds of sectors? And here's what the data shows. Number one, immediate supervisor. Number two, senior management. It's leadership as the first source. Leadership, leadership, leadership. And by the way, HR is there. HR is significant. But HR is not the one to which we should default. There's a funny thing that happens in authority in places there where we don't know that we're elitist and we don't know that we oppress people. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble. They tell me I should abide by protocol and do that which is acceptable in the public eye. And the little boy from Frankfield wants to call it like it is. Oh, so let me not be that direct. Let me shift it to teachers. And the same thing happens with supervisors and employees. A child goes to school. They hire a teacher to teach. When the teacher is not successful in getting the child to learn, they fire the student and keep the teacher. My apologies to those of you who are in the teaching profession. The accountability is to this little boy. Nobody in his family speaks English. You're speaking it as if you live in England. He misses some of the big words that you use. Because he has no source, and you're a teacher, he doesn't learn for one reason or another. We move him on to another grade or expel him, and we keep you. When in fact, leadership is a source of all human glory, passion, and problem. We need to start there. That's what the data says. Don't burden HR. HR is important. They have programs. They have ways of dealing with things. They can put out fires. But you can't send the fire brigade every time something goes wrong. We need to prevent the fires from starting to begin with by creating a culture that is more conducive to what we want. Another myth and misconception. I was working with the Diageo beverage company. I had 186 salespeople for me. Some of you heard the story. They were under tent in the yard of this hotel. 186 people, the vice president of sales with this sales organization was right here in the front row. And I asked this question, you may have heard me ask, I do it all over the world. I said, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you go to bed at night and sometimes you cannot sleep? Because in your mind, in your imagination, there are visions of things you need to get done in your life, dreams and passions and ambitions that light you up in the night. And when I asked the question, 186 people, maybe a couple were looking at the traffic, I don't know, but they all put up their hands, including the vice president in the front row. This is the Diageo beverage company. And I said, do me a favor, please. Keep your hands raised if that primal passion that charges you with energy when nobody's watching has anything to do with beverage. And 186 people lowered their hands, including the vice president in the front row. And I said, we have a dilemma in industry, don't we? Most people don't realize that. Senior management sometimes doesn't do it, doesn't realize it. The people do not care about the widgets they make. Not truly, not deeply. They don't care about the widgets they make. Even if it's good widgets, it's work. And when we put our vision and mission and all this passion on the wall that is good for CEOs and the senior executives, the people don't feel it, especially the way it's written these days. We think it's a marching order to take the flag up the hill and point it in the peak of the hill and take competition by storm. The people do not feel it. They do not come to work for the widgets. I was working for a prominent financial institution with banks across the Caribbean, a powerful source of the financial sector. And when I asked them that question, and they all put their hands down, I said, but this is money. It's the ultimate thing you come to work for. You know what the response was? It's not my money. It's just dirty paper. I have to wash my hands after or wear gloves. Now this opens up a whole new world. You want to motivate your people? You want to empower them? It's not about the widgets you make. They don't care. I had a chance in a telecommunications company to ask Mrs. Brown what she cared for. The fact of the matter is nobody ever asks her. You know what it comes out like? It sounds like, I want to leave a heritage behind for my children. I want them to have a better life than I ever did. When I die and go away, I want them to remember me for having made a contribution to their children. That's what Mrs. Brown says, but nobody ever asks her. Here's the problem with the millennials. The millennials grow up in a world where massive corporations get massive because they first give to the public. And they give so much to the public gives them back their names and addresses, and then they can market that later to make money. Amazon was a losing corporation for a decade. They made no money selling books, but they gave free services. Facebook gives free services. And after people begin to trust Facebook and Amazon, that these companies are delivering value, then the people develop a loyalty to them and gladly click on things and buy products. And now they suddenly become multi-billion organizations, billion-dollar organizations. The young people have told me that the companies that are asking them to live up to this shareholder value thing must begin by giving them. Don't tell me what you want from me. Tell me what you want, what you're going to give to me, how you're going to enrich my life. Why should I come work for you? That's the world in which we live. Yeah, not the widgets. Not the widgets. Different strategies now. Is this making sense to anybody? Say aye. Just checking. Just checking. Just a couple more. If you decide that something's wrong with management and you're going to put a program in place to fix them, wrong answer. So let's go to the other side. You decide the staff has bad attitudes, they need to appreciate what we're doing for them. We're going to put programs in place, wrong answer. The only solution I've seen to work is a top-down, bottom-up. Work with the CEO, work with the senior management team, work with the staff members, and continue to shape their minds in the area of the culture you want to create. Let them meet in the middle, because if you go to one and then the other, the continuity will be broken and it will not work. It's not a small job. Both. It's both. Because what you need is a common language. You need them all to be thinking about the same kinds of outcomes and establish a narrative that tells them how we believe. We believe in individual dignity and respect. We believe that no employee is a nobody. We believe that title and rank do not make people more important than others. Whatever it is that you're going to do, and I've used all that language with some of my clients, it needs to start from top and start from bottom. So it's not easy. No little one-off program, which takes us to the next one, is going to work. So the final of the four is, if you want to fix engagement, you will not find it in the box on a shelf. If you go to Google and type in staff engagement or employee engagement, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of hits. And I do declare that 99% of them are selling you data, studies, research, definitions of the problem. And the best of them, some few tactical one-off things that you can do, a little program here, a little program there. Now this is getting me excited because I'm getting now to the point of, close to the point of the how. You can't find it off the shelf. Buying more data doesn't fix it. You need data. And so the question becomes, how then? How then? Well, let me just put a little precursor to this. You see the 6 points in margin that the research says will come to a highly engaged company. I've seen some of this myself. Research is fine. Let me tell you an anecdotal story of somebody, an anecdotal situation of somebody who got this in his head. And it wasn't a big organizational thing, it was a personal path. I was working with the Valvoline company in Lexington, Kentucky. And the work that I do is, I go to the CEO gives me 12 to 15 people who I have for 12 months. And once a month I come and half a day I take them through one of these subjects. It's about building character, it's about building people's skills. And then they all go away and then each one comes back for an hour and we sit and we talk about life. You know, one-on-one coaching and group coaching, you need that. And I said to my wife one day, if I'm not really that smart, I said to her, because if I were smart enough, I would be scared stiff of what I do. I'm so naive, I sit in front of really intelligent people and act as if I know what I'm doing. And I've sat in front of people who, when they tell me what they do, it's just amazing. I sat in front of a man who was 6 feet 4 inches. I'm 6 feet 2. I look up to him. And in the one-on-one session, Audrey, I say, tell me a little bit in the first session, what do you do for a living? The man said that he watches the market for petroleum. This is the Valvoline company. And he watches, he arbitrages between the prices in one part of the world and another, looks in the middle to make a profit, and moves millions of barrels of oil from the port of Dubai to the port of New York, and works on the product supply system that sooner or later, when you go to the store, you can pick up a can of oil, and he's engineering all that in the background. And I thought, good God, what am I doing talking to him? Seriously. A moment flashes in front of me. So I was sitting in front of Dr. George Zhang, who is a serious process engineer. And we're talking about these concepts I'm going to share with you. This process. But because I know it begins with you, I started working on him. He's a PhD. He's smart like you can't believe it. So in the process of talking about his business, what's going on in your life and your business, he said, the only problem I have in my work is that we're losing all kinds of money because of damage and waste. A lot of oil has to be thrown away. I said, why? He said, well, there's something about quality control where the tolerance is too wide, and we are not taking care of the precise formulation. And he's talking about surfactants and all kinds of chemical things I don't understand. And when he got done with that, I said, George, is there a solution to the problem? He said, yes. I said, George, do you know the solution? He said, yeah. I said, George, why does it exist? He said, well, it's not my department. Our quality control people and the outside suppliers are not talking the same language, so their tolerances don't overlap and it gets too big. I said, George, you're too smart for this. I said, George, come out of the job description where they told you what you can do and what you can't do. You know the solution. It's impacting your work. Go take some risk. Go get the thing fixed because you know the answer. So I said, okay, George. And I took him to this book, and I said, George, I'm going to give you a line. I want you to call the suppliers. Here's what I want you to tell them as to what's in it for them. And I want you to call quality control. Here's what I want you to say to them so that they will show up. I want you to put an agenda together, put them in a room, and put the agenda there and sit back and let them talk. Short story. Next month I arrive. George sees me. He comes running to me. He said, Alvin. He said, things are going great. I said, what happened? He said, I put the quality control people and the product supply people together. They worked out the differences, and I measured $2 million US. He didn't say US, it's US. $2 million a year that we're saving. $2 million a year. Just by doing what he knew to do, but the leadership was not coming out of him. He was in a box in the quality control, in the job description. I said, man, look at that. And then he said something else. My boss was running around yesterday asking people for me. He had a piece of paper. He wanted to promote me. He promoted me and gave me an organization and a budget, a bigger organization and a budget. I said, congratulations. He said, oh, Alvin. My wife looks at me 2 days ago and said, George, I don't know what's happening. He said, but I like it. I said, George, I will not inquire. It's okay. I'll leave that one alone. And I marvel. George said to me, he said, Alvin, I've never thought this way. My parents are from China. And they taught me to go to school, get a big job, and don't rock the boat. Learn the system, get my promotion, and do well. And you gave me this book of caterpillars that says I was born to fly. He said, I've never taught this way, but I like it, he said. Results transforming companies. So ladies and gentlemen, announcing best practices